Welcome to Black Nouveau. This is our edition for April 12th, 2017. I'm Joanne Williams. Political activist Angela Davis spoke at Marquette University recently. Our Liddy Collins was there. Eve Hall, the new president and CEO of Milwaukee's Urban League, joins us for a conversation. And members of Blankspace Milwaukee are here to whet our appetites for the upcoming Black Restaurant Week. But last week, the groundbreaking ceremony for the Griot and historic Garfield apartments was held. When it's all finished next year, the mixed-use campus will have high-quality apartments, commercial space, and will be the new physical home of America's Black Holocaust Museum. Everett Marshburn gives us a preview.
It is a fantastic day to celebrate not only in Bronzeville, not only the Garfield and the Griot project, but the whole city of Milwaukee, if I dare say, Mayor, and throughout the whole state of Wisconsin. Because as Milwaukee goes, so goes the state. We want Milwaukee functioning on all cylinders, and this project is representative of exactly that.
This project, the Griot and historic Garfield apartments, brought a diverse and overflow crowd to the groundbreaking ceremony held on April 4th. Scheduled for completion in late 2018, it revitalizes a part of Bronzeville that had fallen into disrepair. It includes the building that housed America's Black Holocaust Museum, as well as the former Garfield Elementary School. Efforts to restore the museum and the neighborhood had been unsuccessful until this plan took shape in 2014.
It has taken 2.5 years for this day to come, and we are here.
Melissa Goins, CEO of the Morris Group, developed the project in collaboration with J. Jeffers and Company.
So I've been in real estate development for over 11 years now, and Bronzeville and the Hallier Park neighborhood has been on my hit list for a little bit. And it has had a fairly long incubation period. Quite frankly, I've been thinking about Bronzeville and Hallier Park even since I began in the industry. And I've had different variations of concepts for the district and how to catapult it to begin its reemergence. And I think it was just a matter of right timing. So when the idea's time has come, there's no stopping it.
Nearly a full city block, the mixed-use campus will cost more than $17 million. Funding has been secured by a variety of sources, including local and state government funds and a number of private investors.
And we call it a campus because it's not just a school that's being redeveloped, it's also the new construction that'll be housed next door. So the entire campus is 71 units between two buildings. We have the historic Garfield School, that is 30 units, and we have the new construction that's next door, that'll be 41 units with a first floor of about 8,000 square feet of commercial space, and we'll be inviting home back the reemergence of America's Black Holocaust Museum.
The museum will reopen in virtually the same space it used to occupy. Created by the late Dr. James Cameron, the only known survivor of a lynching, the museum fell on hard financial times after his death in 2006. It closed in 2008 and reopened as an online museum.
Hello, my name is Reggie Jackson. I'm the museum's head griot. This page is your doorway into American events, sights and sounds that are rarely found in our history books.
We're reopening as a physical museum all of the artifacts that have been in storage since 2008. We're going to be using those to create new exhibits in the new museum. We've realized that since 2008, museums overall have changed. They require a different dynamic than they had at that time, more interactivity, so we're working to develop some interactive exhibits in addition to those artifacts that Dr. Cameron collected for a number of years. And we're hoping that the museum is more than just a museum. We're hoping that it's a space that brings people from the community together to have discussions about very tough issues. We want it to be a part of the community moving forward. It's not just a museum, but really a place where people feel comfortable coming and they feel some ownership in the museum as well. The virtual museum will continue to be a very big part of what we do. We're actually working on converting it to different languages moving forward because of the presence it's had internationally. People from different countries have asked us to actually convert it to Spanish and French and several other languages as well. So it'll continue to grow. We'll continue to add exhibits to it. We'll continue to have our scholar griots from the University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee, Alverno, several other universities continue to write exhibits for that. So that's going to continue to grow as we move forward. That the work that we've done since the museum closed as a museum without walls, all of that work will continue. We'll continue to bring people together to have facilitated dialogues across different racial and ethnic groups talking about very difficult topics. We'll continue to do our Griot to Go program, doing speaking engagements throughout the community and the country.
The project is in Alderwoman Milele Coggs district. She's been fighting to reopen the museum since it closed.
The state of relations amongst people is a little less humane than it was when the museum first opened. There is no greater time in history for the museum to be returning, to have those dialogues about race and equity and all of the things that we turn on CNN and MSNBC and see thrashed every day now. To have real dialogue and real discourse about the future of this nation and this world and the contribution that we each must make to it. Because I know this, there will be no Griot, there will be no Holocaust Museum, there will be no redevelopment of the Garfield School if it were not for a combination of a collaboration of people. This process, this project, and even this room is an example of the collaboration and different intersections of people that have to come together for this city, this nation to be better, and for the museum to succeed.
April 17th through the 23rd has been designated as the second Black Restaurant Week in Milwaukee. Joining us are Bridget Robinson and Symphony Swan of Blankspace MKE to tell us all about it. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
So, Symphony, how many restaurants did you invite to participate in this, and how many are actually participating?
So we reached out to about 25 Black-owned restaurants in Milwaukee, with about 20 who have agreed to participate this year. In comparison to last year, we had about 15 restaurants who agreed and participated. And so I think the increase in restaurants is really good for the week and just shows that we have a thriving business sector for Black-owned restaurants in the city.
Bridget, what's a breakdown of sit-down restaurants and the grab-and-go restaurants?
So we really tried to flesh out the week with everything from breakfast to lunch and dinner. And so you'll see some of our traditional favorites that have been in Milwaukee for 20-plus years. And then we have some newer restaurants like Irie Zulu, Something Smells Good, that just bring a different flavor to their menu and to the city, I think.
Were any one of you surprised by the restaurants this year? Any good food that you could tell me about?
I have a favorite barbecue truck that's down the street from my job, actually, and so it's been a favorite for everybody in my office for quite some time. So I'm excited to be able to help promote Mr. Barbecue and what he offers. I think that folks will be in for a treat. It is a family-owned business. It's been around for just about 2 or 3 years now, but really, really good barbecue.
I think my favorite has always been Coffee Makes You Black. I just really love the family environment that you get when you go there, and the wait staff and the owners know you by name. And I think every time I go there, it's a new experience, but all of the same. Like, I always feel comfortable when I'm there.
So what types of food can we experience doing this?
I think that you'll see some traditional American food. So like Coffee Makes You Black, everything from chicken and waffles to, again, what you expect in a burger joint. But then also we have Irie Zulu, who has some amazing African cuisine. What else?
Good clean eats too. So they use a lot of locally raised food, which is really awesome and I really enjoy. I mean, we have seafood from Something Smells Good. So a really healthy mix between barbecue, soul food, American.
Surely something for everybody.
Yeah.
What kind of challenges are Black restaurants facing today?
I think there's always the myth of, will people support? We see in a lot of restaurants or just establishments in general that open up but don't get a lot of folks to patronize the business. And so I think the challenge is to get people to come in the door, first of all, but then be able to give feedback about what's good about the service, what went well, and be willing to work with the owner to be able to talk about how they can be supportive to that business.
Something really unique that happened last year was that we realized a lot of these owners are operating in silos, and so a lot of them don't know each other. And so there was an incident that happened at one restaurant where they needed a generator. And because of this week, owners were able to kind of meet and talk with each other, and they were able to say, well, don't worry about it, you could just use ours. And so I think being able to be that platform for restaurants to be able to network with each other is also awesome too, because they're able to build a stronger network.
Now, part of Restaurant Week, Black Restaurant Week, is enjoying good food, but also recycling the Black dollar. Can you talk about the importance of that?
I think the focal point for the week is really about cooperative economics. We believe that when people kind of work together to build wealth and build power, it does a lot for the community. And so a part of the premise of Milwaukee Black Restaurant Week, far beyond just dining out, is really about helping people to understand that when they give back in terms of spending their dollars in communities that matter, then those restaurant owners are able to then pay it forward. We had a restaurant last year that was able to experience such a tremendous growth in her sales that she was able to offer some jobs to additional wait staff. She was able to hire on an artist to be able to put a mural in her business. So it was an opportunity to be able to recycle the dollar within the community.
And I think that's what Blankspace is all about. We're all about the collective mindset and being able to use our talents and our interests and our resources on a collective platform, because we believe that there is power when we're able to work together and kind of feed off of each other's experiences, resources, and knowledge. So,
now, one thing Blankspace tries to do is incorporate art and activism as well. So how does that play into Black Restaurant Week?
So we really see culinary art is another creative tool of entrepreneurship. So Blankspace Milwaukee actually started as a grassroots co-op. We wanted to identify creatives in the city that were able to come together, network, and share resources. And then as a creative, you obviously have a product or a service that you are providing. And so wanting to figure out how we could market that and become successful entrepreneurs. So when we think about the idea of culinary arts, again, it's an opportunity to use your creative talents as a food critic, if you will, to be able to build that business. And so I think food just met well with an everyday desire that we have to eat, and then how can we use that to kind of build power in that way.
Because we're artists, and so we represent a small portion of a population, right? And I think that using food as a universal tool to get people to inquire about our mission was, I think, very strategic. And so with doing that, we were able to get a couple thousand people to join our Facebook group, like our Facebook event. And so now you have a population of people who normally don't get a chance to interact with artists.
Well, everybody has to come out and enjoy these restaurants, so thanks a lot. I appreciate it. We have a list of the restaurants featured in Black Restaurant Week on our website at milwaukeepbs.org.
Some people say that this is Sheriff David Clark's city. But I say this is Dontre Hamilton's city. To the movement for Black lives and for refusing to allow his life and his death to be forgotten.
Words spoken by activist Angela Davis, who recently spoke to a full house at Marquette University for their Freedom Dreams Now Forum. The Black Panther Party and the Civil Rights Movement of the 60s brought Davis to political prominence, and through the years, her fight for justice around the world.
This is a city where racism, inequalities, injustices loom large. But it is also a city where people refuse to believe that the struggle for freedom will suffer ultimate defeat. And therefore we thank the immigrant rights movement here in Milwaukee. administration's racist call for a border wall and how to resist the Islamophobic travel ban.
She said movements make a difference in the world, even if they don't achieve their goals.
But of course, the election of Donald Trump has created a much more challenging political context for the work that we do. On the one hand, we know that the election of Trump was in part a reaction to the important achievements associated with radical activism over the last period. Activism against racist police violence, against the prison industrial complex, and state violence more generally, against homophobia and transphobia, against misogyny and intimate violence and its linkage with state violence, against ableism, against climate change, for environmental justice, including justice for animals, movements in solidarity with struggles that are unfolding in other parts of the world.
I have followed her from the 70s. I think she's a dynamic, well-spoken role model. She has added more dimensions. She's broader. She's very, very global.
Davis was disturbed with how feminism has been represented.
I was disturbed by Hillary Clinton's constant evocation of a glass ceiling. And the fact that so many people assume that that's what feminism is about. It's about breaking through the glass ceiling. But you know, if all you're trying to do is break through the glass ceiling, it means that you're already at the very top of the hierarchy and everybody else is below you.
It's got a lot more layers, I think. And of course, you know, the gender analysis. I mean, she wrote a book on Black women in the blues, which I found was very interesting because usually we think about Angela and we think only about political stuff, but she's got a lot of different kinds of engagement. But I think what she's done this time is offered something which is, while complex, is also very clear.
I think one of the most important points she made for me was the idea of global synergy. The idea that an issue that happens in another part of the country or a social issue that doesn't directly affect you doesn't mean that it doesn't affect you in some way down the line or as a big picture. No issue is an individualistic issue, and what affects one person or what affects one country or what affects one civilization has an impact on all of us.
And then Black Lives Matter.
It's the era of Black Lives Matter. And Black Lives Matter, this slogan has become a universal call. As a matter of fact, when I was in Belfast, I met with the Black Lives Matter chapter in Belfast. And then a couple of days later in London. And many people have assumed that the call, Black Lives Matter, was too particular and too specific. All of you have probably been involved in conversations where people say, now why do you say Black Lives Matter? You should say all lives matter. Right? And of course, that's what they've always said that. And as a matter of fact, the universal notion of all lives matter has actually been clandestinely racialized and gendered and classed so that that all only refers to a few. But we know that the more robust universal is to say that Black lives matter, because when Black lives are made to matter, that will mean that all lives matter. No question.
Did you know that since 1919, almost 100 years, the Milwaukee Urban League has helped African Americans and other folks make their transition to urban life and employment? Our guest, Eve Hall, is the new president and CEO of the Milwaukee Urban League. Welcome.
Thank you.
Glad to have you here. Now, you have your PhD in educational leadership.
I do.
Does that apply to the Urban League?
It really does.
How?
Well, it helps greatly because one of our focus areas is education and youth, employment and training, and racial inclusion, which is really around equity and diversity. But in everything that we do, education is at the core.
Now, at the most recent annual meeting of the Urban League, you talked about the goals for the next year. What are you trying to accomplish with the League in the next 12, 13, 14 months?
So the first few months, as you may recall, and thank you for coming, I'm really engaging and re-engaging myself now as an Urban League leader with our community, meeting with business, community, and civic leaders, having one-on-ones with my staff and my board. I had the honor of actually attending the National Urban League's Midwinter Conference. So in my first week of starting with the Urban League, I was able to get the national profile and national perspective, which says while we are a legacy organization, we cannot survive by our brand, but we really have to make sure that we're having impact and results. So as I'm looking forward to what we're doing, everything, Joanne, is around really deepening the impact that we are making in this community. So what I mean by that, you know, we are already providing some support and services to our youth, but how about tracking our youth to really see what is the difference that we're making with the support? Are we truly helping them stay in school? Are we truly helping to make sure that they're going on to college? You know, what are the results of the interactions that we've had?
When you have to, most businesses in Milwaukee know the Urban League. Mm-hmm. They've had dealings with the organization. But if a new company comes in, how do you sell the League to them? How do you tell them the importance of the Urban League?
Well, I would basically go back to our history, which is so significant, which actually starts in 1910, that our organization is the legacy organization that actually stabilized Black individuals and families who migrated from the South from the early 1900s really to the 70s. And we were the go-to resource centers for individuals who were they were seeking jobs, they were seeking education, they were seeking ways to be involved in a new community, and the Urban League was really a holistic approach in supporting these families and individuals. And why are we important today? Well, in so many aspects. Number one, as we look at employers are constantly looking for talent, not only an entry level, but also professionals. With the Urban League, we work with those that are difficult to place, but we also have our professionals that we work with. We also have our young professionals. So we're connecting that pipeline that so many corporations are looking for. So we're that conduit. When it comes to education, while we're making strides, we both know we have some huge gaps in terms of reading and math. Well, you know, the Urban League is prepared and continues around the country to support and work with our public schools and even charter and choice in ways of after-school services or actually coming into the schools, complementing the existing services. So those are really critical issues in our community that the Urban League still addresses.
A lot of people may not really be familiar with the Urban League until they need a service. Mm-hmm. And then they say, well, where do I turn? How do you try and get the message out so that people will know that the League is someplace where they can turn?
So we are actually working on that area around marketing and outreach. For instance, we were just on WNOV the other week speaking about our employment and training work that we do. We're now looking at redoing actually our website, deepening our engagement with social media so that we can have those connections. We're now on 98.6 where we're talking about our employment and training opportunities. So, you know, we're re-engaging once again and revisiting what we're doing, and know that because there's that void in terms of people really knowing what we do, that we are increasing our marketing and PR efforts.
Is the Urban League as politically active as, say, the NAACP?
I think so. We probably do not, well, I know we do not go to the same extent that the NAACP does. So we may post our position in ways that say, if this particular policy is passed, this is how it will truly impact our community. So it's important for people to really think about who they're electing or how they're being involved in the community, because if we don't do certain things, this is how it will impact or address what is happening with our children and families. I think with the NAACP, while they do that, they're even more involved in a lot of issues on the Hill, a lot more interactions probably with legislators on just a deeper level. But together, I think we complement those efforts.
What's the one thing you're going to attack first? What's the one accomplishment you want to see in your presidency for the Urban League, say in the next 6 months?
The next 6 months would really be around this marketing piece, expanding our base of individuals who truly understand what we do and how significant we are in this community.
So if people want to find out more, or they want to find out about getting a job, how do they get in touch with the League?
They can call 374-5850. They can come to our office, which is located at 435 West North Avenue.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Eve.
You're welcome.
Eve Hall, who is the new CEO and president of the Milwaukee Urban League. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And please remember, we offer lots more information about Black Nouveau on Milwaukee PBS on the website. Go to milwaukeepbs.org. And that's our program for this week. For Black Nouveau, I'm Joanne Williams. Thanks for watching.